guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette and this is my channel Evolve with Monette. I am a professional intuitive empath. I am an all-around life path 3, a chef, an author, and a whole bunch of other things. And now that we know each other, I want to jump right into the title of the video. Today I'm going to be taking a very surgical, empathetic look at the relationship and the energy that exists around Harry and Meghan. So, if you have not been buried under a rock, you will know that they have been going through quite the transition. The first thing that I want to do, we're going to cover many subjects here, so I'm just going to bullet point it for you because I took notes. We're going to talk about Icarus, ambition, the Leo woman genome. We're going to talk about racism, God Save the Queen, spiritual hives, blackmail, and infamy. Okay, so that's just a little bit. If you want to stay tuned, I'm going to break down these notes that I have taken about this. I feel like I had to jump on here. I'll be fully transparent. My husband asked me specifically not to. He has heard me be riled up about this over the last many days and months and weeks and years that this has been unfolding. At first, my elation, like the rest of us, that this transformative thing was happening. And then my own inner self and intuition started to perk up, and I realized just what was happening. The just what was happening that I'm alluding to is narcissistic abuse. So, for those of you who have suffered narcissistic abuse and have found your way to this channel, we will be covering some of those topics, the tenets, and some of the things to be looking for. And we will be taking a look at it through the relationship of Harry and Meghan. Now, what I also want to do is address the elephant in the room. I am a Black woman. I am an African American, first generation American, actually, Black woman. My mother is from Antigua, which is a British West Indian country. So I believe in that regard, I have something to offer here to this conversation from understanding, even from a distance, the energy and the loyalty that many actually have to the Queen and the monarchy and the people that are royalists. I understand it because I understand it because of my mother. I am also a Leo, not just any Leo, but an August 4th Leo. And you know whose birthday happens to be August 4th? Meghan Markle. Now, before you click off of the video, ladies and gentlemen, please understand that I come in peace. What I would like to do is disseminate some of this information and maybe filter it through my lens. And I hope that you come away with a better understanding on many levels of exactly what you've been witnessing. The reason I mentioned me being an August 4th Leo, which is going to jump me right into the point of the Leo woman genome, is to say that there are some parts of Meghan that need to be identified as just constructs of her personality, and there are other parts that are deeply narcissistic. And you may ask, aren't the two intertwined? How are we separating her personality from the narcissistic behavior, since that is a personality? Now, that's a disorder. So I want to be really clear on that. I will also disclaim I am not a doctor. I have only suffered my own narcissistic abuse, which I have chronicled and detailed, and I teach about and have talked to people internationally about. So I know what I speak of in that regard. But what I see here is also this issue where people are trying to parse that out. Who is she? Leo women like to be the queen. Do you see the first conflict that comes up here? Now, that doesn't mean that we cannot create queendom within our own kingdoms. And that means that we all each have our own platform and we all each can reach people. We all have a charisma, Leo men and women, if you're watching. But there are, in all signs, which I will be teaching on this channel, imbalances. There are things that we come in, we incarnate to learn, and we have to evolve through many of our imbalances. And so that's something that I wanted to point out here, because I don't know that Meghan is balanced. In fact, I do know, as an empath and an intuitive and a professional reader of energy, I know that Meghan is imbalanced. I want to talk about the thing that the country Great Britain has had for Meghan, and maybe some in the world. Spiritual hives. Spiritual hives is an acronym, hives specifically, that was downloaded to me in a meditation. It means you are hearing intuitively vicious or varying energy that's being sent your way. And so what that means is, like, if you see a beehive, you wouldn't go near it. Even if you're fine with bees and you love what they do for our planet, you would think, oh, they're swarming, there could be danger. Instinctually, you stay back. Or if you're breaking out and having a reaction, you may break out in hives on your chest or on your hands or body. And it's your body's way of letting you know something is wrong. The country, a nation, and the world on many levels has identified that something is off with Meghan. And there have been all these debates about it being boiled simply down to racism. The other elephant in the room. Let's talk about it. Yes, I'm a Black woman. I am a Black woman in America who knows racism all too well. In my early 20s, I dated someone whose father was the head of, or the grand wizard of the local chapter of their clan, of the clan, not just their clan like the Hatfields and the McCoys. I'm talking about the actual Ku Klux Klan. I have been told in that toxic relationship that I extricated myself out, maybe another video for another time. But I was told that I could be hung by the morning because my partner was once jealous of something that was perceived and conjured in their own mind, and that I could be cut with their buck knife and my entrails spread throughout the mountains where no one could find me. I know this has taken a dark turn if you came here for Harry and Meghan, but I want to just dispel that for anybody who is African American, West Indian American, Black, woman of color, any color, that happens to come to this video and say, oh, you must be self-hating. How can you not see that they're racist? Well, guys, I do acknowledge that much of the British press has been incredibly racist. And there are things called dog whistles. And today I am not your social professor here, sociology professor, and I'm not going to teach you all of this today, but what I will deal with is what I know is a fact. Fact one, there has been racism in the press and racist things that I have read, even though I am fully aware that Meghan is also a narcissist. Both things can be and are true. Does that mean that the whole of Great Britain is racist? Absolutely not. Does that mean that everybody that feels like something's off with Meghan is wrong? Absolutely not. And I feel like Meghan has done this brilliant job of throwing this haymaker where we're all focused on her race. It was conjured, guys, and purposely done. And here's where I might step in it some more. Meghan has used her race to her own convenience. When Meghan, this is an intuitive download, just bear with me. When Meghan was going on casting calls, I see her doing Disney casting calls because I've really prayed and meditated about doing this video. So this is not just something I bring to you because I want to cash in. I want to bring information. I'm never going to bring you information that's not about elevating and evolving you. And that's my real talk there. Meghan, I see her on casting calls and I see them saying to her, you're too Black for the role, right? And so that was something she grew to hate and disparage, that side of her. I also see that she purposely didn't take roles that called for a stereotypical, in her opinion, Black person. I also see that no matter how much she loves Doria, her mother, that she very much relishes in her skin tone and her color. Okay, so those are some of the things, meaning how she is presenting, how she is white passing. Ladies and gentlemen in my community, can we talk? I feel like, can we talk for a minute? Can we really talk? Now, if you're Caucasian and you're watching this video, or any other race or ethnicity, God bless it. Welcome to a little bit of kitchen table talk. You all know, and I'm talking about you that are of color, that there are caste and systems, and there are trains of thought that happen around being a certain color. In this country, America, brown skin paper bag test. That was something that happened in school. Not to me, though I did hear of it. Fortunately, being raised by a West Indian mother meant that I loved my skin, I loved my body, I loved a lot of things because I was raised with a different culture. Even though I am American, I was definitely raised like I was a West Indian, okay? So there is this energy in me where I get that. I watch that. Fortunately, out of all the hangups I have, that is not one of them. I love my skin color, but I did notice how it played a factor and how it does play a factor. We noticed this recently. A lot of conversations around Beyonce and Kelly Rowland and why isn't Kelly as good or in the same position. Colorism, a huge conversation for those of you that are familiar with Amara La Negra and her conversation she had on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne, who purposely did not want to hear. I could just go on and on. It has been a huge topic of conversation. Amanda Seales, who's also another flashpoint, another video, is often being accused of certain things because of this. It is a very real concept that exists in our community. So Megan, I just wanted to dive into that really there very quickly. Megan relished and is grateful for the way that she presents because she feels that it afforded her some opportunities that she may not have otherwise gotten. And she also has bitterness about it because she feels that she was denied some things because of it. Now, it's quite convenient that she's using this as her pivot point regarding disrespect. Here's the deal. Megan got into an empath. We addressed the color. Harry the empath. Harry is an empath, and what do we as empaths know that narcissists are? They are bait. Empath and narcissist, it's like catnip, okay? So the empath is a catnip and the narcissist is the predator in that regard. There was interviews done where people asked Megan if she understood who Harry was, and she said she'd never heard of him, which is just hilarious because there's literally pictures of her sitting on the palace gates or in front of the palace gates when she was like 12 or 13. Megan is ambitious, and that goes back to the genome of the Leo woman. We are by nature ambitious and driven, but when we are balanced, it can be magnanimous and gregarious. We can also be snobby, and we can be aloof, and we can be unavailable, but if it's balanced, it goes in a different way. Because she was not balanced, she sought out balance, and Harry to her seemed like balance. Megan wanted anybody that was rich, famous, and English. That was kind of her thing. And if you are watching this video, you probably kind of know a bit of history about this. So she wanted anybody that was going to fill that void. But the thing about it is with Harry, it's like, it's the coup de grace, right? It's the one when you get Harry. Harry, because of his energy with his mother, Harry is very much Diana. I think we're watching that unfold right now. Because of his energy with his mother, Diana being a Cancer sun, Harry is incredibly identified with mother and nurturing, and he's always wanted to save someone because he replays over that he couldn't save his mom. And he was in no position to, he was a child. And we will never forget him walking a mile behind that castle or more when Princess Di died. I remember, I watched it. I watched when they were married, and I also watched when she passed. I will say this to you, that Harry sees in Megan what Megan has wanted him to see. That is the grand trick of the narcissist. What Megan has wanted him to see is that she needed to be protected, hence the race card that she played up so much. Again, I am not denying that there was a whole racist agenda. There in part was, but that does not eradicate the fact that this woman has disordered behavior. Do you recall her with the handsy, touchy-feely that was very outside of protocol? Leos, we love to break a few rules, but we also like dignity. So I thought that was rather odd. Not huge PDAers if it's not really like pulling us passionately. Was she that in love with Harry during those interviews? Did you guys watch the love bomb gazes that she gave him? If you've suffered narcissistic abuse and you stumbled on this video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think that that's where the blinders are applied to a lot of other people that just want to lacquer this with race. It is not just about race, and it is in fact also on some levels about that, meaning that Megan caused a lot of people to take a look at their own internal racism. I even had friends come to me and be like, listen, I feel, metaphysical friends in the community that do this work, I feel like something's off with this girl and I don't understand it, and I'm not trying to be racist, they would say to me, and I would say, no, you are hearing intuitively the varying or vicious energy that's being sent your way or that you're experiencing, okay? So do not doubt yourself. Megan targeted Harry because he was in fact an empath and he wanted to save her. There's a wonderful YouTuber on here named Shallon Lester. She used to work for Sun Magazine or something of that nature, in any case as an editor, and she has a wonderful video about our shadow sides and exactly how our shadow sides, if you want to seduce someone, you have to identify their shadow side. What did Harry always want to be? Maybe out of his brother's shadow. What did Harry want to be? Maybe not the red-headed son that people allege is or isn't Charles. What did Harry want to be? King. And what did she look at him and say? I can make you a king. I'm a kingmaker. I'm a Leo. I'm already a queen. I'm a kingmaker, and I will make you a king. And she love bombed him, and she sexed him up real good. Something else people talk about. Oh, he's so whipped. He's so whipped. He's also love bombed. I don't want you guys to miss that. And we're now watching her begin to devalue him. Let's talk about the devaluing that we witnessed here. The first time that I noticed Harry having an aha moment about who Meghan was when they were talking to some folks, not the Bob Iger thing or whoever he pitched her to. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they were talking to some folks, and Meghan being the Leo. So there are several things that happen. She steps in front, she introduces herself, she makes conversation. Meghan being the Leo, I saw the Leo step out. I saw her say, oh my gosh, this isn't about me. I need some attention. Now, guys, I'm being super candid. I'm an August 4th Leo. I always say in the beginning of my videos, I'm a life path 3. I'm an entertainer, I'm a speaker, I'm a writer. I know what it is to command attention, and I watched her do it. I know what it is to feel like, okay, it's my turn to speak or to wait or be gracious. Meghan lost the second half of that, the waiting, the being gracious part. She didn't even do it because it wasn't about her. Meghan also wanted to show Harry how attractive she was. Bear with me, guys. Narcissists need you to be jealous in order for their machinations to work. They need you to fear losing them, or they need you to feel like your bond with them is Bonnie and Clyde and they don't want anybody else in. She steps in front. She introduces herself. In that moment, look, go find the video, click out of this video, go find it. I tell you no lies. Harry, look at his face. Several things registered to me. He was confused. This is not the Meghan that's been love bombing me and telling me I'm the king and that I should step from underneath my family shadow. He was jealous. Mission accomplished on Meghan's part. Oh my gosh, she's talking to all these other men and she's dazzling and she's charming and they're seeing her and they're thinking, I want to have her. And he was watching them too. I watched him put his hands together. He protected himself. A closed, like he claps his hands like down by his belly, down by his sacral chakra. This is our sexuality, down by his root chakra. He clasped his hands. I've seen Harry talk like this. I've seen him gesticulate like this, but here he was, pensive, drawn in, closed up, because he realized he was insecure. He felt it. He also felt like this is rude. And he wanted to be that man that said, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. But he knew the cameras were watching, that the men that were salivating, talking to Meghan, which is precisely what she wanted, were watching, and he registered it. I remember the first time my narcissist disrespected me, and it took me a second. I was like, did that just happen? Did she just say that to me? And had I had nipped it in the bud in that moment, guys, guess what would have happened? I would have never gone through the years of abuse that I went through with her. But I didn't. And that is what I saw Harry do. Rationalize it. It all happens in about 15 seconds. He rationalized it immediately. Oh, this must be a fluke, or I'll talk to her about it later. It's no big deal. But Meghan is calculated. She knows exactly what she wants. Listen to her sister. Listen to her father. Everybody's describing them to be bitter because that is the magic that a flying monkey does. And excuse me, that was a Freudian slip. That is the magic that a narcissist does. They send out the flying monkeys. Meghan's flying monkeys is the press. Do you want to know why Meghan didn't want to be in this situation anymore? Because she didn't have control. What does a narcissist fear the most? Not having control. Who did she not have control over? It's on my notes. The royal rota. She did not have control over the royal rota. And that's what she was pissed about. And I don't just mean like, oh man, that's bad. It's ruined my day. Aw, shucks. I mean a seething anger and a plot and a ploy to vow revenge. Why did Meghan move into, or why did the renovations take so long at Frogmore? They didn't take so long because Meghan needed to have her yoga studio that she might or might not use. It took so long because Meghan needed to be in the palace. Palace intrigue, guys. She needed to be in the palace. And why did she need to be in the palace? To gather information. Because a narcissist is all about seeking and destroying. They want to figure out the lay of the land. She wanted to cozy up to the queen. She wanted to cause Kate insecurity. She wanted to drive a rift between Will and Harry, which she has unfortunately successfully done for now. This too shall pass. More predictions about that coming up. But she wanted to drive a rift between the two of them. And so she needed to be inside so that she could start to listen. Now, this person that did this video about the shadow self says that in her line of business, she never heard anything about the palace. It was a tight ship until Meghan got there. And then the leak sprang and sprang and sprang because Meghan is in cahoots with her own press. And she didn't want anybody else to create her narrative. And she didn't like that she was so not well liked. And we all saw the article that BuzzFeed did, the 20 article comparison, 20 articles and headlines of Kate, 20 of Meghan. And there in there, if you can't find a little bit of disparaging racism and think, okay, this was odd, sure. But what it is that people don't genuinely like Meghan. So when they don't like you, do we paint someone we don't like with a beautiful paintbrush? No. We paint them how we're perceiving them, which is as dark and I no pun intended, but like dark energy or not lovely or whatever the case may be. So that's why come Meghan was getting that press. Yes, people are racist. Again, I will not stop saying that. I know that to be a fact in my own personal life. I've had friends. I've had so many experiences, guys. So please do not doubt that I do not understand the gravity of racism. And my goodness, we haven't figured it out yet. So you think we're going to figure it out about one conversation around Meghan and Harry? No, we're not. But what I will say is that she wanted control. And she wanted to be able to infiltrate the palace, which is specifically what she did. Listen, we all have been socialized by Disney, indoctrinated rather, to believe that a prince shall come. In fact, there's a wonderful book called The Cinderella Complex about how we all think that that's going to be our life. And for Meghan, she manifested it. That's how I want you to know how powerful her energy is. Not that she is a sorcerer, but she set her eye quite literally on a prize and she achieved it. That's the magic of narcissism too. Because you don't care about anybody else, you crush and eviscerate. That brings us to the bodies left behind. Her family, her mother, brother, sister, each of them. Her brother wrote a letter 2 years ahead of time saying, please don't marry her. It's not too late to stop this. It's not too late to pull this back. And he still married her because when you're blinded by narcissism, as Harry was and is still, you do not think that the people that are advocating for you are allies. You think they are enemies because your narcissist paints them as such. Isolation, 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 as we have just seen, is the name of the game. I will say this too. Those parents, friends, family members, and ex-lovers all have granules of truth that contain Meghan. She is someone who gets bored easily. And you know why she gets bored? Because narcissists get bored easily. Wearing the mask takes a lot of energy. It's very heavy. It's hard to keep up. That's why she had to cut and run and get out of there. That is Meghan's pattern. If she were being honest with herself and was actually taking a look, she could say, yeah, I do have a tendency to run. You, whoever is watching, we all have ingrained patterns, tapes, and negative behaviors that have affected our life. That's why we incarnate onto this earth plane and we want to evolve and figure out new lessons. So I'm not saying that if she were balanced and wasn't a narcissist, that would be terrible that she cuts and runs. We all do weird things like that. We all have idiosyncrasies, but Meghan's are a function of her disorder. She cannot stay anywhere too long lest she be found out. And it looks like the country was starting to find her out and they hated her. Now let's go back to the Leo woman genome. Leos do not like to not be liked if they want you to like them. Okay, so they don't care if they don't care for you, obviously, and maybe that's the way that most people are, but it is especially poignant for Leo. The phrase for Leo I want you to remember is I am. We're all about being self-actualized and who we are, and it means sometimes we can be selfish, and that's the truth. Myself included. We can be selfish. It's what makes us incredible performers. Think of Madonna, think of J-Lo, Halle Berry, Bill Clinton, all of these people. Bill's coming up here later. These are Leo energies. These are people that like push forward. Kevin Spacey, with all of his weird creepiness. These are Leo energies. Great at what they do, but they like to be liked. It is important to them. So when the country didn't like her anymore, I gotta get out of here, says the narcissist. I cannot. I gotta get out of here, says the Leo woman. This is a lot. Now, a Leo woman evolved would have found a way to transcend that relationship and really been the princess we all thought she would be, which would be unifying and creating this monumental change of being a woman of color in the palace. Meghan wanted the shortcut. Meghan wanted the money, and that's fine. Meghan's going to have the money, but what she's also going to have is infamy, because what she did and what we all witnessed live was her taking a hostage. T.I., the rapper and poet laureate, says in his song Rubber Band Man, wild as a Taliban, 9 in my left, 45 in my other hand. What he's talking about is brandishing weapons to make sure that whoever he is holding hostage is going to be listening and acquiesce to his demands. The rubber band part talks about him stacking his cash, because when you're making not clean or dirty money, you can't, and you don't have a place to launder it, you definitely stack it up and accumulate it and then figure out something to do with it. So that is the way. That is what that's about. But here's what happened. I was listening to that song for some reason, or it played in my head. Thank you, angels. And I heard that that's what Megan did. Rubber band man wild as a Taliban. The reason the correlation was made, my narcissist I always associated with the word jihad. And then one Halloween she showed up and she had on a burqa and she had on a thing, and she was like a burqa assassin. And we'd never talked about it, but my angels had revealed to me, this is who she is. I was flipping through a word smart book. Do you remember those from college? And I was like, show me who she is. You know, I just random stuff that I do, weird empath practitioner, and it came to the word jihad and it appeared to me. Well, when I heard that song, they said, that's Megan. She has declared jihad on the palace. Not only has she done that, now you guys will say, oh no, she just wants her own life, and that's the argument being made. Sure, a well-balanced person, maybe, but she did know what she was getting into. She studied this, guys. I can't tell you how calculating her energy is. She studied this and knew exactly what she wanted. She drew up a strategy. People that set goals meet them, even narcissists. Okay, so she waged war. So the 9 in her left and the 45, that was blackmail. That was breaching the palace walls, and that was recordings. Recordings she still has for a book that she wants to write. This is a prediction. This is not just what I think happened. Within the next 3 to 5 years, I feel like the discard will be finalized with Harry, and she will have all of the juicy morsels she ever wanted. Now, here is where I feel like things went wrong. No one ever taught Megan respect for the queen. And I think that that is one of the things that is in misalignment with Americans, some Americans, I should say, viewing this situation, is that there is this engendered respect for the queen. It's built into you. And when people are saying, we're not racist, she was disrespectful, she didn't follow protocol, everybody's like, no, because America, we are obsessed with race. Can we say that that's like, not that racism hasn't happened in many forms all over the world to all ethnicities, but we have a particular obsession and fascination with it, if you have not noticed. And we have yet to resolve it. Jim Crow, civil rights, all these things. Jim Crow recently elapsed in the last like 40, 50 years, 60 years. Oh gosh, I'm getting old. 60 years. But the point is this with Megan is that she absolutely kind of not only knew what she was getting into, she calculated and studied, she wanted to be into it, but she went forward with this and decided by all means and all costs. I lost my point here. I'll find it in a second, but I'm going to go back to Saturn and Pluto. There is a conjunction that happens once every 500 years. And usually there's overthrowing of power, world wars, all that stuff. That happened right at the beginning of this year, right around the time that they were announcing. She did not overthrow the queen. She could not overthrow the queen, but what she did was cause a schism and a rift, and it was a tectonic plate shifting, and things will be forever different because of Megan, which on some levels is what she wanted. She wanted to be like Cleopatra. Oh, gosh, my wise mother says, be careful what you ask for. You just may get it. And I will say this too, the disrespect to the queen is real. It is a palpable thing that even if you are not of a West Indian British culture, you get. Even if you're not just British, you get. And I will say this, picture it. Miami, 1991. I am a ridiculously hormonal teenager who's just come from my mother's country of Antigua. And we jump in this cab with no AC. Our Irish cabbie comes in handy later. Keep that in your memory. Pulls over quickly to the side of the road, and I'm irritated. I'd just been out of the country for 3 weeks. I had to use the restroom. Not that I didn't use the restroom in my mom's country. I did. But I wanted to watch my TV shows. Of those, they were not in my mom's country. And I was being bratty, and I was like, geez, why do we have to pull over? Well, it just so happened that the queen was coming with her motorcade beside us. And I said that very bratty thing. And before I knew it, my mother, who doesn't curse, slapped me across my face, something she has not done before or since. And she said to me, mind your bloody manners and watch your mouth. Then she crossed herself and she said, God save the queen. And the Irish cabbie flicks his rearview mirror, looks back at us and says to her, good on you, ma'am. Good on you. In essence, what he was saying for Americans that do not understand this, He was saying congratulations for slapping your daughter across the face and that's not something she does. She did. It was about the queen. She was incensed, but he was saying congratulations because she needed to be taught respect in this moment. Even him, from his Irish descent, if you know anything about Irish and English, you know that that might not be a likely statement coming from a cabbie. That was Irish, but he did. And my mother was elated that the queen had passed by. She thought, imagine my good fortune that I happened to just be sitting on the side of the road as the queen cascades by. And I did not get the gravity of it. I was 11. I was ridiculous. And I didn't get it until later. I got it. But I do remember the way she dealt with me, and I was in shock. I didn't cry. I was in shock. Why are you slapping me over this old white lady? I thought. Naive, silly, ignorant me. Because for my mother, it meant something. I wish that I could transpose my experience with Megan and that she could have been sitting in that car. I mean, not the whole thing, like the Ginger Prince, I wouldn't mind that too. Who doesn't? But I wish I could transpose that moment with Megan so that she could know from someone who values the monarchy and that is removed on her own island, meaning my mother, not her own island, but the island of Antigua where she was raised. Someone who values it so that Megan could understand, oh, this is bigger than me. There was talk about Meghan wanting to be associated with the color green because of Princess Diana. I will tell you that Meghan did not want to be associated with the color green just only because of that. And the sadness of it, too, I will say, regarding Diana, is Meghan could never. Meghan went and posed recently when she was in Canada at a women's shelter, but she spoke with the people that were overviewing and the staff. Where would Diana be? Answer the question, guys. Diana would be on the bed. Diana would be sitting next to the little kid with tuberculosis or the woman that hadn't showered in 3 days because her husband tried to drown her and she has PTSD now. Diana would be holding the hands of those people, not doing a photo op. Do you remember Diana walking through the minefield? Even though they had disactivated them, it was still a ridiculously brave thing for her to do. And when AIDS was taking over our world and everyone was terrified and there was no medication for it, Diana was in those wards. And she was humanizing that crisis. Meghan wishes. Narcissists do not have it in their energy or soul to avail themselves genuinely. They're about their own fame and fortune. There was a quote from her sister recently that she is focused on her own fame and fortune, and that is true. Narcissists do not really consider anybody else, and she doesn't want to lift anybody up. Meghan is on a press run. She wants to revamp the image she feels that the British have sullied. Never once taking accountability for the way she's come in like a grenade and blown up an institution, a family, and a connection that runs deeper and is more valued than anything in her entire life. She does not know what she does, and yet still she holds blackmail, is what I heard. Now, here's the thing. She is no different than any woman that has wanted to be close to power. We think of Monica Lewinsky, right? She wanted to be close to power. And